The world always felt a little off-kilter when Mark wasn't beside me. For 3 years, our marriage had been a comfortable, laughter-filled cocoon, woven from shared dreams and an unwavering belief in our unshakable bond. Before that, a year of dating had solidified what I thought was an unbreakable foundation. We were the couple who scoffed at online horror stories of manipulative partners and clandestine affairs, snuggled on the couch, convinced our love was immune to such mundane betrayals. Mark was, in my eyes, the epitome of a devoted husband, kind, attentive, and utterly transparent. Or so I believed. A couple of days ago, that carefully constructed world shattered, not with a bang, but with the silent ping of a Snapchat notification. Mark was in the shower, the gentle hum of the water a stark contrast to the earthquake rumbling beneath my feet. We had an open phone policy, a testament to our mutual trust, so reaching for his phone wasn't out of the ordinary. I wanted to send myself a particularly sweet photo he'd taken of us on Snapchat, tucked away in his memories. A simple, innocent act. But when I opened the app, my thumb poised to navigate to our shared moments, I was met with an unsettling blankness. The Memories tab was empty. My brow furrowed in confusion. A glitch, perhaps? I backed out to the main screen, and that's when I saw it. A username that wasn't Mark's, a stranger's name staring back at me. And then, a new message from someone named Jenny. A cold dread seeped into my veins. Curiosity, a venomous serpent, coiled around my heart, squeezing until I could barely breathe. What was I doing? This was wrong, I knew it, but my fingers moved on their own accord, tapping open the message. The image that bloomed on the screen was a punch to the gut. A young woman, undeniably striking, her chest generously proportioned, accompanied by a caption that sent a wave of nausea washing over me. Scandalous felt like an understatement. My vision blurred, tears pricking at my eyes, but I couldn't tear my gaze away. A grotesque fascination held me captive as I scrolled back through their conversation. It hadn't been going on for long, that much was clear. Mostly texts, with the occasional photo swap, like the one currently searing itself into my memory. I couldn't tell if calls showed up on Snapchat logs, but if they did, I saw no evidence of them. The conversation itself was a sickening blend of casual banter and thinly veiled flirtation, but it was one particular exchange that truly twisted the knife in my heart. On more than one occasion, Mark had tried to compare Jenny's body to mine. I'm confident in my own appearance, secure in my own skin, and I'm not ashamed to admit that Jenny possessed a more ample bust than I did. But to have my husband, quantify and compare me to another woman in such a callous way, it felt like a violation. To Jenny's credit, she had, mercifully, shut down that line of dialogue, deflecting his attempts to pit us against each other. The sound of the shower stopping jolted me back to reality. The phone slipped from my trembling fingers, clattering softly against the duvet. When Mark emerged, wrapped in a towel, a soft smile on his face, he found me utterly broken, tears streaming down my face. "Sarah? What's wrong?" he asked, his voice laced with concern, the innocence of it a cruel mockery of the turmoil raging inside me. "I know," I choked out, the words catching in my throat. "I know about Jenny." His smile evaporated, replaced by a flicker of panic, then a mask of carefully constructed composure. He immediately launched into apologies, a torrent of desperate explanations. But amidst the apologies, a chilling refrain echoed, "It's not cheating, Sarah. I've never met her, and I never will. It's just, online." The words felt like a fresh wound. "I don't care," I sobbed. "I don't care if you've never met her. It's still cheating. You were comparing me to her, Mark." That's when the conversation took an even more bizarre and devastating turn. He stopped apologizing. His eyes, once contrite, hardened. "You cheated first, Sarah," he said, his voice flat, devoid of emotion. I stared at him, bewildered. "What are you talking about?" He brought up my AI chatbot. For a while now, I'd found a harmless, escapist pleasure in using an AI chatbot to roleplay with fictional characters. It was a silly, private indulgence, a way to unwind and explore scenarios with characters I admired, purely in the realm of imagination. I'd never seen it as anything more than that, a digital playground for my thoughts. To him, however, it was a betrayal. "You have pretend relationships with those characters," he insisted, "intimate experiences. How is that any different from me talking to Jenny? She's just as fictional to me, because I'll never meet her in person." The absurdity of it stunned me into silence. Fictional characters, made up by a computer, versus a real, breathing woman with a revealing photo and a scandalous caption. They weren't comparable, not in my mind. But in his, they were. He continued, his voice gaining a strange, self-righteous edge. "You're so blasé about your thing, Sarah. I didn't think my thing would be a big deal." I felt a strange dissonance settle over me. My heart ached, a deep, pulsating pain, still reeling from the discovery of Jenny. His words, though, had introduced a new, unsettling layer of doubt. What I did, was it truly cheating? Was it a betrayal of our trust, even if it was with lines of code and imaginary scenarios? Was it fair for him to equate my private digital escapism with his flirtatious exchanges with a real woman? I'm adrift, caught between the undeniable pain of his actions and the gnawing uncertainty about my own. I still believe what Mark did was awful, unforgivable even. But if he genuinely felt I had hurt him first, if my actions had somehow opened the door for his, did that change anything? I'm losing my mind, trying to make sense of this warped reality. All I know is, I need an outside perspective. I need to understand if what I did, with my fictional characters, was truly cheating, and if our two experiences were comparable. The next few days were a blur of hushed silences and forced pleasantries. Mark tried to act normal, almost too normal. He'd offer to make me coffee, suggest we watch a movie, anything to paper over the gaping chasm that had opened between us. But every gesture felt hollow, every word carefully chosen, filtered through the lens of what I now knew. The vibrant colors of our life together seemed muted, drained of their former brilliance. I, on the other hand, felt a constant churning in my stomach, a knot of confusion and hurt that refused to unravel. Sleep offered no escape. My dreams were a chaotic replay of Snapchat messages and Mark's chilling accusation. "You cheated first, Sarah." The words echoed in my head, a relentless, insidious whisper. I spent hours dissecting the situation, turning it over and over in my mind like a broken puzzle. On one hand, there was the undeniable reality of Jenny. Her revealing photo, the scandalous caption, Mark's attempts to compare our bodies. That was concrete, tangible. A real woman, even if only in pixels, exchanging flirtatious messages with my husband. It felt like a betrayal of the deepest kind, a violation of the sacred space we had built. But then there was my own secret. My AI chatbot. My fictional characters. I had always viewed it as a harmless escape, a creative outlet. It was a world of my own making, where I could engage with beloved characters in a way that felt private and imaginative. It was fantasy, pure and simple. The characters weren't real, their responses generated by algorithms, their intimate experiences mere text on a screen. How could that possibly be comparable to a real person, a real woman, no matter how distant? Yet, Mark's argument kept snagging in my thoughts. He said I was having intimate experiences with these characters. Did he feel betrayed by that? Was my private world, which I had never thought to hide but also never felt the need to broadcast, truly a form of infidelity? The idea was jarring, unsettling. It challenged everything I thought I knew about boundaries, about trust, about what constituted cheating. I started to reevaluate every laugh we'd shared about online nightmare partners. Had he been secretly judging me even then, even while we laughed together? Had he felt hurt by my AI chatbot indulgence, all while I remained oblivious, secure in my belief that it was nothing more than harmless fun? The thought sent a fresh wave of despair through me. If he felt I had cheated, then perhaps his actions, though still deeply painful, were a reaction, a twisted attempt to level the playing field. Not an excuse, but maybe, just maybe, an explanation for the irrationality of it all. The logical part of my brain screamed that it was a deflection, a desperate attempt to shift blame. It was a classic move of someone caught red-handed. But the emotional part, the part that was desperately trying to make sense of the chaos, wondered if there was a sliver of truth to his claim. Could two such seemingly disparate acts, one with a real person, however distant, the other with lines of code, truly be seen as equally damaging? The silence in our apartment felt heavier with each passing hour. We were living in a stalemate, two people occupying the same space but light years apart. The unspoken accusation hung in the air, a suffocating weight. I wanted to confront him again, to scream, to demand he see the monumental difference between our actions. But the fear of his counter-accusation, the renewed insistence that I was the initial transgressor, held me back. I was trapped in a moral quagmire, unsure of where the solid ground lay. The thought of ending our marriage, of dismantling everything we had built, was a terrifying prospect. 3 years, a lifetime of memories, all dissolving into a bitter dust. But how could I continue in a relationship where trust had been so profoundly shattered, and where my husband seemed to believe my innocent digital escapism was on par with his emotional infidelity? I needed clarity, desperately. I needed someone to tell me, unequivocally, if I was losing my mind, or if I had indeed played a part in this agonizing unraveling. I couldn't live in this silent, suffocating limbo any longer. The air between Mark and me was thick with unspoken words, unaddressed pain, and a festering resentment that threatened to consume us both. I needed to talk to someone who wasn't Mark, someone who could offer a truly objective perspective. My best friend, Chloe, was the first person who came to mind. She was practical, empathetic, and had a no-nonsense approach to problems. I called her, my voice trembling as I recounted the entire bizarre saga, the Snapchat discovery, Jenny's photo, Mark's immediate apology, and then the chilling counter-accusation about my AI chatbot. As I spoke, the words tumbled out in a rush, a dam breaking after days of silent suffering. Chloe listened patiently, interjecting with an occasional "Oh, Sarah," or a sharp intake of breath. When I finished, a heavy silence hung in the air. I waited, holding my breath, desperate for her judgment, for her validation, for her to tell me I wasn't crazy. "Okay," she finally said, her voice calm but firm. "Let's break this down. First, what Mark did with Jenny is absolutely cheating. End of story. He was engaging in flirtatious, sexually suggestive conversations with another woman, comparing you to her, and doing it behind your back. The fact that he hasn't met her in person is a flimsy excuse. Emotional infidelity is real, and it hurts just as much, if not more, than physical cheating sometimes." A wave of relief washed over me. Finally, someone understood. Someone validated my pain. "Now," Chloe continued, and my breath hitched, "about your AI chatbot. Is it ideal? No. Is it something that maybe, in an ideal world, you would have discussed with Mark? Probably. But is it cheating? No, Sarah, it's not. Not in the same way, not even close. You are interacting with an algorithm, with lines of code. It's a fantasy, a form of digital roleplay, not a real person. There's no emotional connection with a sentient being, no deception of a relationship with another human being. He said I was having intimate experiences. I whispered, the shame still clinging to me. And what does that even mean in the context of an AI? Chloe retorted, her voice rising slightly. It's words on a screen, Sarah. It's imaginative play. It's not the same as someone actively pursuing, complimenting, and comparing you to another real woman. His attempt to equate the two is a desperate deflection, a classic tactic to avoid responsibility for his own actions. He's trying to make you doubt yourself so you don't focus on what he did. Her words were a balm to my raw nerves. It was exactly what I needed to hear. The logical part of my brain, which had been drowned out by the emotional turmoil, started to reassert itself. Mark was deflecting. He was trying to muddy the waters, to make me feel equally culpable, so he wouldn't have to face the full weight of his betrayal. So, he felt hurt by it, I mused, still trying to process his perspective, and because he thought I cheated, he felt justified. Even if he felt hurt, which he should have communicated to you like an adult, that doesn't justify him going out and doing what he did, Chloe stated emphatically. Your thing is a private fantasy with a computer. His thing is with a real person, regardless of whether he met her. The intention is different, the deception is different, and the impact is entirely different. Your actions might have been a minor point of contention in a healthy relationship, something to be discussed. His actions are a monumental breach of trust. The clarity Chloe provided was like a beacon in the fog. The sense of being lost, of losing my mind, began to recede. I still felt a deep pain, a profound disappointment in Mark, but the self-doubt, the crippling guilt he had tried to instill in me, started to dissipate. What do I do now? I asked, the question hanging heavy in the air. That's up to you, Sarah, Chloe said gently. But you need to decide if you can live with this. Can you ever truly trust him again? Can you rebuild a relationship where he's willing to twist reality and blame you for his own infidelity? You deserve someone who takes responsibility for their actions, not someone who tries to gaslight you into believing your harmless escapism is a betrayal on par with theirs. The conversation ended, but Chloe's words resonated deeply. I still loved Mark, or at least, the Mark I thought I knew. But that Mark was gone, replaced by a stranger who had not only betrayed me but then tried to manipulate me into believing I was the villain. The path forward was still unclear, but at least now, I knew one thing for certain. I wasn't crazy, and I wasn't the one who had cheated first. Mark had. And facing that truth, painful as it was the first step towards figuring out what came next. The realization that Mark had gaslighted me, twisting my actions into a weapon against me, solidified something within me. The pain of his infidelity remained, a raw wound, but the suffocating self-doubt began to lift, replaced by a quiet, simmering anger. I saw him with new eyes, not as the loving, transparent husband I thought I knew, but as a man capable of profound deception and manipulation. That evening, the silence was still heavy, but this time, it was a silence I controlled. I sat on the couch, the very spot where we used to laugh about other people's relationship woes, and waited for him to come home. When he did, he walked in with that same strained normalcy, that carefully constructed facade. Hey, he offered, heading towards the kitchen. We need to talk, I said, my voice steady, betraying none of the turmoil still swirling inside me. He paused, a glass in his hand, and slowly turned. He saw the change in me, the quiet resolve in my eyes. The casual veneer he'd been wearing for days began to crack. About what? He asked, though he knew. About Jenny. And about your ridiculous accusation that I cheated first, I stated, my voice gaining strength. I spoke to someone, Mark. Someone objective. And they confirmed what I already knew in my heart. What you did was cheating. Plain and simple. Emotional infidelity. And what I did, with a fictional character generated by an AI, is not comparable. Not in the slightest. His jaw tightened. So, you're just going to dismiss my feelings? You don't think it hurt me that you were doing that? I'm not dismissing your feelings, I retorted, standing now, facing him fully. If you were hurt, you should have come to me. We have an open phone policy, an open communication policy, or so I thought. You should have talked to me, expressed your concerns. Instead, you went behind my back, engaged in flirtatious conversations with a real woman, and then tried to blame me for your own actions when you got caught. That's not a misunderstanding, Mark. That's a betrayal and an attempt to manipulate me. He flinched at the word manipulate, but said nothing. The air crackled with the raw truth, stripped bare of his convenient narrative. I need to know, I continued, my voice wavering slightly despite my resolve. How can I ever trust you again? How can we possibly move forward when you are capable of something like this, and then try to make me believe I'm equally at fault? He ran a hand through his hair, looking utterly defeated. The fight had drained from him, replaced by a hollow despair. I don't know, Sarah, he mumbled, his gaze falling to the floor. I panicked. I didn't want to lose you, and I thought if I could make it seem like you were just as bad, maybe it wouldn't be as bad. The admission, raw and pathetic, offered a small measure of clarity, but no comfort. It confirmed what Chloe had said, what I had suspected, a desperate deflection, born of fear and guilt. It doesn't make it okay, Mark, I said, the words heavy with resignation. It doesn't erase the hurt, or the broken trust. We need time, space, to figure out what this means for us. If it means anything at all. The future felt uncertain, a vast, uncharted territory. The comfortable cocoon of our marriage had been torn apart, leaving me exposed to the harsh winds of reality. Rebuilding trust felt like an insurmountable mountain, especially with the lingering image of Jenny and the bitter taste of his deception. But for the first time in days, I felt a glimmer of hope, a fragile sense of reclaiming my own sanity. I knew where the line was now. I knew I hadn't crossed it first. And that knowledge, painful as it was also liberating. The path ahead would be difficult, but I was no longer lost in the bewildering maze of his lies. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where the lines of loyalty and betrayal felt blurred, leaving you questioning your own sanity? If this story resonates with you, share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tales that explore the complex depths of human relationships.